Hello, welcome. My name is JesseMcDesign. Today we're going to be painting this tattoo styled painting. Let's get started. Alright, so this week we're going to be working on this long canvas we got going on here. It's a 1 foot by 3 foot. I went ahead and did put a lot of time into this tattoo style drawing. I'll throw it up right now. It's this two-headed snake kind of battling a few different rats, and I chose a snake just to kind of fill up this long space in the canvas, and then I saw one that was kind of fighting a rat, and then I decided just to throw a couple more in there just to fill out the space nice. I spent quite a lot more time on this this digital drawing in Procreate than I normally would if I was just going to paint it onto a canvas like I'm going to here. That's because at the end of this I'll probably end up using that digital drawing to make some nice prints that'll look really cool. Probably not by the time that this is done, but sometime down in the future that'll happen. So what we're going to start doing right now is I already prepped the canvas, which isn't too much. I just kind of sand and hit with like a red Scotch-Brite what is already here, and then I'll go ahead and do this whole tracing of the outline and everything, and then we'll coat it a couple times with a clear coat type thing just to protect the outline, make sure it doesn't smudge or disappear or anything weird, and then we'll start our painting. Alright, so we got our pencil drawing on here. With the projector, it doesn't really, you can't really get those really fine details and everything. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna lay out our messy background kind of thing, making it look old and patinaed, and then we'll really start to get into it. So let's get started on this background. And what we're going to do now at this point is we're going to actually do it a little different than normal. Since this is more of a tattoo style kind of thing, there's a lot of outlines on a lot of this stuff to make it stand out a lot more than, you know, doing like a realism type thing where there isn't really outlines, it's just shades and colors and whatnot. So what I thought I was going to do was treat it more like a tattoo and go in with the finest pen that I have and just outline everything just so I can see it again. Now that I look at this, the pencil is coming through quite well actually. Again, it's kind of hard for me to see what you can see. I'm looking on a very small monitor, but it is there. There is a couple areas that have kind of went away in the process of doing these couple coats on top of that. So let's just start blocking in some color. So I clearly decided to just line this thing out. After I started looking at it where I was going to start touching it up, I figured I might as well just do this. It'll help me out in the long run. Now, I did this. If you're curious what I used for that, I found these on Amazon. They're called Vandals, and it's just a pack of acrylic markers. So it's paint markers, and it comes in all those different nibs. So there's a multiple of sizes, and I just used the smallest one just to kind of get this on there so we can see a little bit better. And in the end, we're gonna reline this like a tattoo style, like we were talking anyway, so I'm not really worried about it. We're gonna go back with mostly a liner thicker than this for most of it anyway, so no big deal. But now that we got all this laid out pretty good, we can go in and just start just blocking in solid colors. I'm gonna go with like the lighter to medium tone of that color. So let's hop back on the time lapse and get this starting to look a little bit like something. So now that we got our underpainting pretty much there, I got all the colors where they're gonna be. What I'm gonna do now is actually put in the border that I have, and that's gonna require doing some taping just to make sure everything is gonna be nice and straight. And I'm just gonna run a paint marker across that and make it as smooth as I can, and it shouldn't be too bad. The canvas texture is a little weird. When I was doing this initial rough outline, I could tell it was catching because of the texture of the canvas, but it should be all right. And then once we knock that out real quick, we're gonna just start going in and start rendering this stuff out. Since I've done it already with the digital version, I don't think it should take that long. Also, it's the style that it is, this tattoo kind of style, is a little bit easier than doing like a realism portrait type thing. So we're gonna knock out that outline and just start from the back forward, which means we're gonna start off with this little branch piece, the leaves, the flowers, the berries, and then just work our way forward to the snake, and then the last will be the rats on the very top, and then we'll go in at the very end and add some shadow points and stuff just to make some extra things pop. And we might touch up the background a little bit here and there just to make it all look nice and cohesive. All right, so now that we got this whole branch, the leaves, the berries, and these weird noodle flowers all finished up, we're gonna start working our way forward, which means we're gonna start working on this snake next. But before we get too carried away, I wanna go in and add the white line around the back pattern and the little lines on the belly bits as well, just so I have them there and I don't forget about it and kind of mess things up a little bit. So we're gonna do that, and then we're gonna just start knocking out this snake. Alright, so I just finished up the snake of this thing here. I'm super happy with how it's coming out. It's all pretty much cohesive. The colors are slightly different from what I did digitally, just because I don't have the exact colors I did digitally, and to try and mix those colors or find those colors, you know, I'm pretty close, but it's gonna vary from the digital version to the actual version I'm doing here. But now we're gonna move on to the final rendering, which is gonna be these 3 mice or rats, whatever you would want to call them. Maybe I'll call this piece 3 blind mice. Getting attacked by a snake. But we're just gonna move on and do each of these one at a time. And then we'll come back for our final details, which will be outlining this thing, which is gonna be a whole ordeal, because we're gonna do fine line for most of the detail, and then we're gonna go in and do some thicker lines around the outside of certain pieces, and then around other pieces even thicker outlines, and then we're gonna go in with a white and just kind of help separate some of these images from the rest of it so they pop a little bit nicer. So let's knock out these rats and get onto these final details. Alright, we are finally on the final stages of this thing. All I have to do now is to line everything, which will take a couple hours, I'm estimating, but it shouldn't be too bad. I'm gonna go in with these acrylic paint markers I got. They come in multiple different sizes, and what I'm gonna do is basically just start from the top and just work my way down. I might move around a little bit just to keep it a little interesting for myself, but it's gonna be mostly fine line. You can kind of see here, that's what I'm gonna be working with, is like the fine line, a medium, and then a little bit thicker. And I'm just gonna work that in all the way out. Basically how I do it is all the stuff on the inside, all the finer detail is obviously done with that fine line. And then as you work your way out, the lines just kind of get thicker and thicker, and you can just kind of accentuate different areas and make certain things pop. And then after all that, we'll go back in with a white outline and just add like a highlight separator line that'll make things pop even more. As you can see here, you know, like the head of the snake is kind of hidden, but after we line it and then add that white, it'll pop out. And again, you know, just making everything look nice and cohesive, but you just can still distinguish everything all at the same time. So it's gonna be a little bit of so it's definitely gonna take a little while, so let's just get started. All right, so there you have it. I'm pretty happy with how this thing came out. I don't want to move it too much because it starts to get a crazy glare and you can't really see it. But it came out obviously slightly different from the digital version, which I was totally expecting. One main thing is obviously paint colors aren't going to be a total match to the digital colors that I pick. They're close enough. And then also when I transferred this, I'm still trying to figure out the best way to use my projector on these bigger pieces, which I've been doing. It works out nice, but it just slightly distorts things just a little bit, which isn't really a big deal. It's still, you know, to the untrained eye, it's gonna be pretty much the exact same thing unless you really nitpick, you know, little spacing of things. But I got this varnished about 2 days ago. It's still curing a little bit, it's still kind of sticky, but it's looking great. Like I said, super happy with how it came out. I haven't done a tattoo kind of styled painting, you know, more illustrated with, you know, a little more illustrated with line work and stuff. I've been kind of focusing on realism and all that lately, so it's kind of refreshing to go back into something like this. But if you like what you saw, hit the thumbs up, it really helps. If you want to see more, hit the subscribe. I'm always over here doing some sort of creative project, whether it be traditional painting, making furniture, home decor, who knows? Leave in the comments below what I should do next. See you on the next one.